I don't really remember exactly when it was, but we were walking downtown in New York, and he just said I had this idea to do this film that was like loosely based on Kurt, and I got really animated, and I said, you have to make this film. If this film's gonna be made, you have to make it. And then he said that he was interested in me playing the role, and I kind of just laughed at him and told him he was crazy. And we just kept talking about it for a couple years, and then we were shooting it. I had two big reservations about doing the film. One was that I was a fan, and I didn't know really how I felt about that. And then the other was that I'm a musician, and I didn't want it to seem as though I was doing it to benefit my own music career, or I didn't want it to confuse, people. But he talked me out of it. Gus, for me, is just like he's an extraordinary filmmaker. That sounds like weird. I think my introduction to independent film, I didn't really grow up in a place where there was a lot of art films around, or books, or music, or anything like that. And I bought my own private Idaho in a garage sale in Jersey, and that was like my introduction to independent film, to like art films, to films like didn't have like the formula that pretty much every movie has, so naturally I was a big fan of Gus and his work. I thought that this movie specifically, me being such a big fan, it's like, well, if this movie was going to be made, who could handle it? For me, it would be, just personally, it would be Gus. And then I also knew that I had read on, I forget what album, there was an album by Nirvana where Kurt thanks Gus Van Sant, so I kind of knew that he was a fan too, so it seemed appropriate. My take on it, when I was shooting the film, I found myself confused a lot of the times of, what the hell I was doing. Because it was a really vague line of whether or not it was him, but it wasn't him, and I didn't really understand that until I saw the film. And then I realized, after I saw it, that why Gus chose to tell it that way. And what I realized was that he was allowing the audience to look at a human being in that situation, as opposed to an icon that you or I or someone else, would have their feelings about, like their romance about. And in making it about a human being and showing the humanity, I felt like definitely in the spirit of Kurt, it seemed like a lot of people forgot that. I mean, I didn't know him personally, so I don't know, but it seemed like a lot of people forgot that he was a human being in that situation, and not this, icon or fictional character, you know what I mean, or like rock star or whatever, We kind of just had conversations. I mean, it was basically just conversations. We talked to him. We just rapped a lot of stuff. He, I was playing Blake. I wasn't playing Kurt. I knew that obviously it was modeled after Kurt, but it wasn't based on facts, and it was not a biopic. If anything, it was anti-biopic. And that's like, sometimes, I think that's why the film, at times, like, people don't understand it, or they're confused by it, or they don't enjoy it. It's because they go in thinking that it's a biopic. And if you go in thinking that it's a biopic, you won't enjoy it. Like, it's not Ray, it's not The Doors, it's not, if you go into the movie thinking, that you're gonna see, him, like, the character on the side of the stage, like, saying something clever before he picks up his guitar and then going out and, like, wailing. It's not that kind of film. It's anti that kind of film. So, I don't know. I mean, I think it's important for the viewer to know that it's not an easy film to watch, and that it's not based on facts. It's more of like a poem. That's why I said the best explanation, the simplest way I can put it, is that for me, it's not a film about him, it's a film for him. It's most likely it just sound like mumbo jumbo, you just try and find a place, you try and go somewhere else, and then once you're there, you try and concentrate, focus on that, and not leave. More like literal things that I do is like I change my appearance or my body weight. Very often I find the characters walk, which helps me. The way they would walk or the way they would think about things. I was just kind of toying around with the idea of, like, sometimes when we're alone, we're having conversations in our head, and sometimes we answer out loud, or, we're thinking about what we could have said or what we didn't say or what we want to say. And I thought that was a really interesting thing that, like, humans do that's kind of weird and not, like, shown. And I thought it would also give Gus some colors to paint with in the editing room. Like, if he liked certain phrases, he could put them somewhere else. I don't think I really have a true understanding of what method is, because, method seems like really dangerous, especially when you're playing, this character. I kind of just, I thought that the character was isolated, so I isolated myself to a certain extent, but mostly just as discipline to stay focused and to concentrate on what I was doing. Well, I always feel like if I do little things like that, I always feel kind of like I'm worried the crew's gonna think I'm an asshole, or the people that I'm working with, because I'm not. But it's really just I'm trying to do my job well. We didn't do a lot of rehearsals, and most of the time we shot the rehearsals, and a lot of the times those were the best takes. Like, I tried to not have any kind of, like, preconceived ideas before about the character. I tried to not manipulate the performance. In a normal script, you get a script and you can break down the character's arc. You can say, oh, well, right around here is when, the character should be realizing this. Given the nature of this beast, I decided to allow the character to unfold and to learn the character on film, which is kind of scary but also really fun, I mean, the script basically read, Blake walks through the woods, 20 minutes. So we'd walk out into the woods, and, you know, I'd be standing there with, like, Gus and Chris and Harris, and basically, you know, sometimes, you know, Harris would be like, oh, you know, I think it would be good if the character, you know, walked through that pond right there. I think that would look really good. So I'd be like, okay, and Gus would be like, okay, and then we would do that. I mean, and he would take suggestions from me, from anybody, and it's kind of a testament of like how good he is. Because I find that a lot of directors with like really distinct voices can be very specific about the, you know, their vision. They'll tell you exactly how to do it, and with Gus it's more like, do it the way you want. I'm still gonna tell my story. It's kind of eerie, and he does it in this way that's really zen, like very peaceful. He's never like yelling or he's very quiet. I think a lot of it has to do with movement. You know, it comes down to movement. I think a lot of actors like get into this thing where they, you know, they want to show their face, and you know what I mean, or that their face is their weapon or something, or I don't know. For me, it was really cool that we did it that way, because, you know, if my hair was in my face, we didn't move it, and in a normal film, you know, you'll have someone like passing out and their hair's in front of it, and then you have someone come over and move the hair so that, you know, the audience can see the face, which it's not really real. It's so much movie making. And the same with the dialogue, you know, there's so much that's, you know, dialogue, movies nowadays it's such a formula where it's like, it's so dialogue heavy, and you know, they really use the dialogue to manipulate what they want you to think, or what they want you to get out of it. Whereas, you know, I just thought it, you know, I thought it was more mysterious, you know, and also, like, why not? Like, why not? Why does everyone have to always be talking and, you know, always be, you know, shouting out clever dialogue that no one ever comes up with in reality? So, I mean, it was a different extreme, like an extreme, but that was exciting to do. We'd shoot like 5 days a week, and then on the weekends, or maybe 6 days a week. Anyway, on the weekends, he had one of those big, you know, editing machines, the old school ones, in a barn somewhere upstate, and he would just, you know, cut the film and splice it together on the weekends. It was cool to watch him, because he was like really happy, you know, like doing it himself, and it's pretty interesting. You know, there are a lot of people. You know, I remember even on Forrester, on Finding Forrester, he had rigged up this gear in his trailer, or I saw his friend Casey was like basically cutting the film as they shot, which this is good, because like, you know, if you know before you're actually in the editing room what you have, what you need, so it can be useful. I mean, I didn't watch early cuts, really. I didn't really want to. I mean, I may have watched one before we finished shooting, just to make sure I was on the right track. But I watched dailies. I had met with with Thurston and Kim, I had like some meetings, and they kind of just let me hang around and learn and ask questions and just listen to them about all different types of things. It's actually where a lot of my character developed, was or when I first started messing around with it, was when I was hanging out with them. And then I don't know, we had someone else who was supposed to do that scene, and then it didn't work out. And I was telling Gus that I really thought that if they would do it, it would be really cool if Thurston or Kim. And Kim wanted to do it, thank God. Well, the first song, I knew that I was gonna have to play some at some point in the film. I knew that early on that Gus wanted that, and so I kind of made the decision that, well, if the character's gonna be making music in the film, it will just be improvised. So I'll just make it up there, and for me that was a way to, to say, okay, well, the character is a musician, and this is him working on some music, but it didn't cross over into like my music, like stuff that I wrote for myself that had nothing really to do with the movie, because that seemed weird. And so I kind of stuck to that, except in the second time you see the character play something, we did about 7 takes, and 6 of them were just songs that I made up. And then on the last take, Gus was like, I think you should play that song. I was always playing him music, and I was kind of reluctant. And then one of the crew members, Chris, was like telling me, yeah, I think you should play it too. And so I did it, and I didn't really think that it was gonna stay in the film. And it didn't stay in the early cuts. And then Gus put it in, and then Thurston was saying that he really thought that it should be in, which I was really scared about, because it wasn't written for the film. It was a song I wrote years ago in my house alone, and but now after seeing the film, I see, like it kind of works for it. It's almost like the character's monologue, the first time we really hear maybe what's in his head. So, but it was interesting. It was like, I remember when I was in Cannes, I came in and I saw that part of the movie, and I almost didn't feel like my song anymore. I felt like I didn't own it anymore. It was strange. When I made some money, I bought a guitar, and I haven't really put it down since, and I don't see myself ever not making music. So it's just something I do, that I'd be doing anyway. And I would like, for me and the people, and my band members, it would be nice if it didn't cost us money. You know what I mean? It'd be nice if we could just pay for gear and pay to travel and just play our music. That's really all I'm looking for. But I'll be doing it anyway, even if that doesn't happen. They're completely different art forms. For me, what's really important, like a goal, is that I'll be able to do and live off of many things that I'm interested in. Like I write too. So like people always are asking, like, well, if you had to choose, you know what I mean? I don't want to choose. I don't think you have to. I think that that's really closed-minded. I think that you know, whatever you're putting, whatever you want to do, you have to budget your time, and you have to put in the time that's due to it, and focus on it. But I don't think, you know, I don't plan on stopping doing one thing to do another, you know. It was just an idea. I wish I had like some grand answer for that. It was more just, I saw how they were doing it with they put black behind, and I was asking Harris, the DP, like how you do something like that, and he was explaining it to me, and I said, you know, could you figure it out so that we could do it with a ladder? And he's like, yeah. I just thought it would be more kind of biblical or spiritual if he actually had to climb out of his body. Just, aesthetically, it would be, you know, interesting. We put some gear in there for like a studio and, you know, some props and stuff, but it's this amazing castle in upstate New York. And when we were set to go in a different house in Portland that was a completely different take, that wouldn't have been a metaphor for the character, it would have just been a house. And I remember I woke up and I called Gus at like 3 a.m, and I was like, I think it's wrong. I'm not sure about the house. I'm worried about the house. I think it's really good if we shoot it on, you know, in Portland or Seattle, around there, but like, and I don't know if I just confirmed something that he was also feeling, or if he had already made the decision, but then like, in 2 weeks we decided to change the location. So I'm glad that we did that. I don't think he's telling you that you should learn. I think he's encouraging you to learn something from it, but I don't think he's telling you, or at least my take on it, you know, I don't know. But I don't think that he's telling you to learn a specific thing. I think that if he was saying that, it would be a completely different movie. I mean, because he doesn't tell the audience. He doesn't dumb the audience. He doesn't tell the audience what to think or what they should think or what he thinks. He just presents it for them so that they can contemplate over it, you know what I mean? And they can make their own decisions about it. I think it's about a human being in that situation, do you know what I mean? I think that, like, you know, you make this, you have like an iconic figure in your life, and you forget that they like make rice at night or something, you know what I mean? Or they do these like normal things that you do, and I think that in showing that, Gus was trying to remind people about the humanity, you know, a human being. I don't really know anybody, you know, I haven't really talked to anybody who was close, you know, other than Thurston and Kim, and you know, I think they like the film. As far as like people who are really close, I'm sure it's just sad, you know, I'm sure it's just a sad thing, you know. If it was my friend, I probably wouldn't even necessarily see it, you know, because it's just, you know, it's just sad, I'm sure. for me, the kind of approval I was looking for were my friends who were pretty hardcore fans, and sometimes overly blunt with me, and they all enjoyed it. So that was kind of like, but as far as like just people on the street, I haven't really come in contact. If he wants, I'll work with Gus. Gus can do no wrong in my book. He talks about ideas all the time. Like I said, he's always got like maybe 5 or 6 ideas in his head. And then he'll decide to do one, and then like 2 days before, he'll do the other one. He's unpredictable. Yeah, he's a great filmmaker.